You don't put sugar in your sauce, though, right?
Just a little.
A little?
Just a little.
Interesting.
Not a lot.
Who
Just
taught
a
you
little.
that?
My Aunt Josie puts a little pinch.
Oh, this is Aunt Josie's meatballs,
Yeah.
the famous
Aunt
meatballs.
Josie's meatballs, Aunt Josie's sauce.
A little pinch of sugar.
Yeah, a little bit, not much.
All right, welcome everybody. It's Rich Rockland. I'm your host for I'll Call My Guy podcast, and I have one of the best guys around. It's Billy Grant, chef extraordinaire. Billy, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for going. I know you're the busiest guy and big man on campus. It's hard to get to, but I want to learn about you because I'm fascinated by you, and I love your food and everything you do in the community. And the premise of I was going to use I got a guy.
Yeah.
Right. And you're an Italian guy, right? So, I got a guy.
I got a guy.
I got a guy. And so I'm sort of I was raised in a Reformed Jewish household. I'm sort of what they call a Jew-gene, like you know what that is, right? Like a Jewish guy wants to be Italian, right? Yeah. So it's the old joke is, right? Italians are just happy Jews. You know?
Yeah.
So it's always like, I got a guy, but that was trademarked. So I found I'll call my guy.
Okay.
And the concept is basically that relationships are everything.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So I want to get there with that, but I want to know about you. I know your time is precious. I want to learn, what made you. And so I just want to jump right in. So you're a Connecticut guy, right?
Yeah, I grew up in East Hartford.
East Hartford. Okay. Yeah. And were your parents together?
Well, so my dad's passed.
Your dad passed.
Yeah. So I grew up. My dad passed when I was 21.
Okay.
And I grew up in East Hartford, and we had a family run. My father had Augie and Ray's on Silver Lane. There's still an Augie and Ray's on Main Street.
Oh, I love that place. A different place, though.
Yeah, but my father actually worked at the Augie and Ray's on Main Street when he was a kid, when he was 19, 20.
Right.
And then he opened up on Silver Lane, and he was going to be partners with Augie and open up a store. And then before the store opened up, Augie wanted to retire, moved to Florida. So my father bought the rights to do that store. And then he opened up that store, and he had it for I think it was 20, 25 years, for a long time. And then when we were in college, he decided to sell it to Burger King. So, he owns the property, but he sadly passed a couple years after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you lived at home with your mom and your dad, and any siblings?
There's 4 of us, 3 brothers.
3 brothers. 1
pilot, and then me, Mike, and Tony are all partners in the restaurant.
But they're not in there cooking like you.
No, so we all worked at the Augie's. We called the hot dog hamburger joint. We all worked there, high school, college, like all of us, all friends from high school.
Right.
And my father really worked us hard. That's where the real work ethic came into, my father was kind of that old school Italian guy with the kind of iron fist, and
get the belt out.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah, he used to do the backhander. So we would he'd have all 4 boys in the back of his Cadillac, right? A red Cadillac, big Cadillac, and we'd all be fooling around and teasing each other. There's 4 of us, and he would just swing the hand back. He was hitting somebody. Didn't matter who was getting it, but somebody was getting it. Yeah, but we grew up in that really close knit, very Italian American family environment, and we all worked at the stand, we used to call it. And then after he passed, my brother Mike and Tony were into bartending. They were bartending at, I think Tony was Good Time Charlie's, and Michael's at El Torito's, and Mark was pursuing being a pilot. He wanted to be a pilot, and he's a captain now. And then I went to work for my Uncle Paul, who had a restaurant in East Windsor called The Eatery. And this is in the 90s, right? Early 90s.
How old are you now?
I'm like 21.
No, how old are you now?
57.
I'm just trying to orient myself. Okay.
Yeah. And back then this was like a really nice valet parking, all linens on the tables, butlers, I had to wear a tuxedo when I was at the front door, and tableside cooking and, all that fancy stuff. And that's where I really fell in love with food. So I was always into food, and my brothers were into business, and then, years later, and a few years later, while I was doing the cooking and they were bartending, they wanted to get in business for themselves. So we went to a franchise consultant, and the franchise consultant kind of wanted to put us into a bagel shop. And I bailed out at the last second. I was didn't want to do bagels. I wanted to continue to be a chef, because where I was working at my uncle's was real food. I was learning about roux and all the French classics, Mornay sauce,
mother sauces,
all of that stuff I learned with my uncle. Because, Augie's was hot dogs, hamburgers, fish and chips stuff. So I bailed out, and my brothers opened up a bagel shop with all their hard work in
Connecticut.
West Hartford, right in West Hartford Center. So they opened up where it used to be Chipotle's, Manhattan Bagel.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's how really we got started. So they opened up the bagel store, and I would go in the morning and try to help them with some prep just to help them. And they had the bagel shop for a while. I don't know, 7, 8, 10, I don't even know how many years. And while I was doing all this cooking, that's when the property Al Forno had a pizza place where Brico is, and they went out of business. And my brother's like, dude, this is a good spot for us. And at this time now I was working for the Max Group because my uncle's restaurant he put on a big addition and got over his head with the addition, and he lost it to the bank, sadly, after 30 years. And so I was working for the Max Group at the original Max.
Let me back you up a second because you're already getting me to break. I want to know I want to know about the recipe, the Billy Grant recipe. Yeah. I need a little more. So when you're working at Augie and Ray's, how old are you? 13?
We were all started when we were like 15. Yeah,
15. All right, and you're short order cook.
Short order cook. Yep.
Right, and so just as a quick aside, what kind of dogs did you use? Like what brand? I'm like
hot dogs.
Yeah,
Bogner.
Bogner. Okay, I'm from New Haven, so I'm a Hummel guy.
Yeah, I like Hummels too, but we use Bogners.
Bogner, skinless or not?
No, they had skin on them. Yeah,
skin on them. And do you butterfly them?
No, we had a griddle top. One of the things, like, bringing me back, this is almost going to make me emotional. Good. One of the things my father used to always say: keep rolling the hot dogs and you won't burn. Because it was a busy place right across from Pratt Whitney, so we would get waves of people like, give me 6
You're in
dogs,
the weeds,
5
like at lunch,
dogs. Let me get 4 dogs, 3 dogs. So as long as you kept rolling the dogs, they wouldn't burn. You just keep rolling them on the flat top. Yeah.
Right. So you roll the dogs, and then what? Do you use a New England style bun?
Yeah, it was from a local bakery, but yeah, it was a New England style bun. Yeah. Yeah.
Now how do you take your dog now?
I like a dog with chili. I don't like a dog with a lot of stuff on it. So I'll have chili, or believe it or not, plain.
Oh, plain.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. And so as a kid, this is a funny story too, because I'm a chef and cook. I didn't like condiments as a kid. I hated ketchup. I hated mustard.
Kids love ketchup.
I hated ketchup, mustard, relish, mayonnaise. I didn't like condiments. I hated them. Like I couldn't eat like that kind of stuff. No. So
if you get chili, do you ever put do you like mustard or ketchup now?
No.
So just chili.
No, just chili.
And who's the best dog around now?
Oh, geez, I don't know. Well, I still love an Augie's dog.
That's a good dog.
I still love an Augie's dog.
I'm not a fan of their chili. I like Frankie's in Plainville. You ever go to Frankie's at Waterbury Place?
I haven't been. No.
Because I like mustard and onion with chili. But then there's this whole debate: does the mustard go on top of the chili or on top of the dog?
Yeah,
I think it goes on top of the dog first.
We used to put the chili last.
Chili last. For us,
people would say, "Can I get a hot dog with everything?" And a hot dog with everything for us at Augie's was no ketchup. It was mustard, relish, onions. Yeah, mustard, relish, onions, and then the chili, no ketchup.
Right. As you've seen, I posted recently. You ever see a Chicago dog? You know what that is?
Yeah, I see.
I love that. That's a delicious dog.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where you go for there. All right, so you're rolling the dogs.
They used to actually call my father Billy Hot Dog. That was his handle. Yeah, Billy Hot Dog. Yeah.
So hot dogs, burgers, fries, and then there were 2 Augie and Ray's, but the Augie and Ray's were the names of the guys that started it years ago.
Yeah, and then when we were growing up, he had that. Like I said, he had that Augie and Ray's from our childhood. Again, it was like almost 30 years. But he had other restaurants that he opened that were called Billy Grant's Augie and Ray's, and he had like 4 or 5 or I think he had like 6 of those at one time. But the only one that lasted a long time was the Silver Lane Star.
Well, because you also had the captive audience of all the guys,
Pratt
the
Whitney
machinists.
was running 3 shifts.
Right, so they'd come out and they'd ask for.
We would work there, and I would work there. So it used to go in high school. If you worked Friday night, to close, you got out at like 1 o'clock, midnight, 12:30, and if you worked Saturday night, you got out at the other way around. If you worked Friday night, you didn't get out till like 1 o'clock in the morning because of the third shift, and then Saturday night you get out at 12:30. We'd have to mop the whole dining room and everything.
All right, so you're 13 or 15. You say you're working there after high school. Your friends are coming in. It's pretty cool, right? Because you're like behind there cooking and all of that. And was your mom a homemaker? Did she?
Yeah, mom stayed home,
right?
Cooked.
And where did you live? In East Hartford.
East Hartford, yeah.
And so you went to East Hartford High School?
I went to Penny High, so I was the last graduating class at Penny.
And that's at Hartford?
East Hartford.
Oh, East Hartford. And then they closed it down?
And then they just combined the 2 high schools after I graduated, yeah.
And you're working your summers at
Augie
and Ray's?
Summers, 50, 60 hours, 70 hours, many hours we could.
Was he paying you at least?
Yeah, not much. We were getting like minimum wage, like crazy cheap. Yeah, he didn't pay us good at all. He made us work, man.
Well, but you work.
Made us work.
So you do the work, and then you finish high school. What do you do?
After high school, I went to college.
Where'd you go?
I went to Eastern.
Okay.
I ironically applied to Johnson and Wales and wanted to go for culinary, and I bailed out because I, I was like, I wasn't sure if that was, I didn't want to pigeonhole myself. I was, let me just go to Eastern. And I hated school. School was really hard for me. Like I struggled in school. Like,
did you live in the dorms or did you drive out there?
I lived in the dorms, yeah, but I came home every weekend. Like I hated college. Crazy anxiety for me. I didn't really.
Did you make it through?
Oh yeah, I made it through with honors, like great grades.
You got a bachelor's degree from there?
Yeah, but I had to really work at it. Like really, like school reading and math was really hard for me.
And did you when you're living, what is your bachelor's in?
Business and economics.
Okay. So are you working during college?
Oh yeah, coming home every weekend and working.
At Augie and Ray's?
Yeah.
Right.
The first 2 years, and then the first year, and then after that when he closed the Augies, then we opened up a little fish and chip restaurant in Hartford, and I would come home and work there.
Okay, but other than that, I mean, and that's not to discount that in any way. You don't have any formal, like you didn't go to the Culinary Institute, Cordon Bleu, none of these places.
No.
When do you start cooking finer foods? Obviously, hot dogs and dogs is different.
When I went to the eatery, and it was all like French style, and that's when I started to get obsessed with the kitchen.
So when is that? How old?
That's in the 90s. I'm probably 21, 22.
22. You're finishing college.
Yeah, I'm 21 because my dad passed when I was 21.
21, and you're finishing college.
Yeah. And I'm coming home working at his restaurant, my uncle's restaurant, on the weekends.
Right. And are you a sous chef? Are you a garde manger? Like, what are you doing there?
I'm doing one shift in the dining room. I start in the dining room
as a server.
No, just like as a hostess, like literally walking people to the table.
Okay.
And my uncle,
that's an important thing to know, right?
My uncle takes me under his wing, and he's like, I want you can close the restaurant at night, lock up, and I want to start teaching you the tableside cooking. So I started with the tableside, shrimp palo. And
they did like tableside Caesar
cooking,
and all that?
Yeah. So I started with that, and then
what did he make at the table? I love a tableside Caesar.
His famous dish was called shrimp palo, and it was basically we butterflied the shrimp, floured them, sautéed them, and then it was like vermouth and pesto, capers, pesto, lemon, and butter, and it was like a tableside appetizer.
It was a whole show.
A whole show,
And what would you cook? Would you just saute it in oil there?
Yeah. And then we carve rack of lamb tableside,
come on.
cherries jubilee. So I did that for a while. And then, he's like, I want to train you out front, get you a little bit more diversified. So I started waiting tables, and that was basically a nightmare.
You're not good at that?
No, I got too nervous waiting tables. I hated waiting tables.
Is that because, are you an introvert, or is it?
No. You know what it is? Like, so when you're comfortable with something, when you're good at something, you really excel, right?
Tell me about that. So I mean, is that because you're good at it, or is it because you have a passion for it? You like it?
For me, it was both.
Okay.
So for me, I'll tell you a couple of backdrop stories. I told you, school was very hard for me. Like I was always in the lowest reading class, lowest levels, and I had a tutor my whole life in school. I had a tutor as I struggled. I just never got really diagnosed with dyslexia or anything like that. But I literally cheated for survival. Like write stuff on my hands. Like I couldn't get the math. I couldn't get the reading. Like when the teacher would go around the classroom and it was my turn to read, I would get crazy anxiety, and I would try to find out where is she going to call on me, so I could practice.
Oh, so you could get prep.
And then I get stuck on a word like whatever, precious, I don't know, and it's horrifying, right?
You're embarrassed, and kids are cruel.
That silence was terrifying for me. So I always studied and tried really hard. I would just. Even in college, it was crazy. Like I went 4 years at Eastern, and I never missed one class.
Wow.
Not one. I never skipped one class.
Right.
Even classes on pass-fail, I never skipped a class.
And why is that?
Because I was afraid of failing. I was afraid.
But do you think, just as a quick little offset here, one of the things you read, I'm sure you've read you've read your share of sort of business books, and because you're an entrepreneur too, right? Mm-hmm. You know how to run a successul business, but they always tell you, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to fail, because failure is an important part of learning. How do you reconcile those two?
I always get anxiety when I have to do something I've never done before, right? So I use that to my advantage, and I always go in prepared. And so the thing was, when I was in the kitchen, I was always comfortable, and I was always better than everybody else in the kitchen, like almost everywhere I went.
Is that because you'd outwork them?
I outworked them, and I out-tried. And that's 100% what I did.
And do you believe that? There's this, saying, The Rock says it. I hear him sometimes. He says, the hard work will always beat talent.
Yeah. It's, yeah, I outworked them. Like I knew that once I was in the kitchen that I wouldn't go home until all the work was done. But with the test, I couldn't do it. I could stay up all night and exhaust myself, and I still don't know if I'm going to pass.
Do you think, I mean, as I see this, and this is me playing dime store psychologist, that this is all born out of your desire for your father's approval?
100%. 100%.
Right.
And losing him the way I did and the time I did was horrifying, because my dad, my dad was a disappearance,
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so it was very traumatizing for us.
And you just presumed him to be dead.
Yeah, yeah, and so it was all over the newspapers. It was like traumatizing, and I'm the middle child, so I have I have his name because my two older brothers are twins.
Oh,
so I have his name, and
so you're the junior.
Yeah, I'm the junior. I'm the third.
And middle, and I will say, because my middle child too, the middle children have your own thing going.
Yeah, and so he would, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, and I've spent many years in therapy, so I've worked through it. He would say, you got to earn the right to use my name. We got to earn it. You got to earn it, and he groomed me hard. All of us. He was hard on all of his sons in a good way, and he made us workhorses.
Do you think that now there's a lot of obviously we've changed as a society. We don't encourage people getting hit with belts and smacking and stuff, but in your case it may have given you crippling anxiety, but it also made you as successful as you are.
100%. I would not have been successful as I was without the way that my father pushed all of us.
But do you think you can still raise a child without being like that?
I think so, because I raised my kids.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3.
Okay.
And I didn't raise them with an iron fist. I raised my kids the best I could, and I have 3 wonderful kids, and I'm very proud of all 3 of them. They're all good kids.
Good kids.
And I haven't had one major
problem. Failure to launch.
No major problem with my kids. I'm very lucky. And Brianna's 30, Billy's 29. I'm about to be a grandfather.
Wow.
He's married. Frankie's a junior at George Mason. She's doing great. So, but I just talk to my kids. I never hit them. I never really punished them. I talked to them, and that worked for us.
So it's possible, but you couldn't. Your father, as tough as he was, I mean, he created this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he did that. So you would outwork them. So then you're finally growing. You're getting into the kitchen. And how long are you at the eatery for?
Like 5 years. Yeah, it was like 5 years, and then, like I said, eatery was like this beautiful, successful for a long time. It was like a special occasion.
Did you move from doing the tableside stuff to just being in the back?
Yeah, I did.
And did you chef the cuisine at some point?
When I graduated college, when I was going to start working there full time, I said I wanted to go in the kitchen full time. And my uncle really didn't want me. He wanted me more out front because he wanted me to be more diversified, But I wanted to go in the kitchen full time because I was comfortable there, and I wasn't comfortable out front. Because you want to know one of the main reasons I was uncomfortable, especially waiting tables, is we used to have to handwrite the tickets back then. No computers.
Oh, right.
So I would spell filet, salmon, ravioli wrong all the time. It would stress me out, and the chef would make fun of me.
Oh,
I hated that. Like I hated it, But I knew in the kitchen, I was quicker, faster,
and you know how to saute and cook.
It came to me, it came easy. And even reading was so hard for me. It was a big source of anxiety for me, But reading a cookbook was different because I was learning the basics as I was learning how to butcher chickens. And then I would be reading Jacques Pepin's La Technique, La Méthode.
So you did. You're a self-taught.
Yeah. And I would go home. I would work those crazy shifts at the eatery, and I would go home and read cookbooks, But that stuff clicked. It clicked for me.
So when does that wind down at the eatery?
So I was there again like 4.5 years, and in the last year he put on a big edition.
You told me, and then he got consumed by it.
The edition just didn't take, and he was over budget and sucked.
What's there now?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a catering facility now. I don't know what's there.
So at this point you're 24, 25?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And are you
I'm married now.
You're married. I was going to ask you, find a woman.
Married my high school sweetheart.
Okay.
Yep.
And you're since divorced.
Yeah.
Right. But you have 3 kids with her?
Two with her, and I have one with another one.
Okay.
Frankie. Yeah.
Okay. And so where are you guys making your home at that point?
At this point, I'm living in East Hartford.
East Hartford. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Still
living in East
there. You're
Hartford.
raising your family.
Yep.
And then where do you go to work after the eatery?
At the eatery. So what happened was when my uncle knew that the ship was going down, he told me, he said, I hate to do this, but we got to, we're not going to make it. And so I picked up the newspaper and I looked in the help wanted ad.
Old school days, yeah.
I picked up the newspaper, help wanted ad, and there was an ad for a sous chef at Maximia in Avon.
Oh, it's a good restaurant.
And they had just opened. And
they're as old as Brico? They've been there that long?
Yeah. And then they were before Brico. And then I call, and guess who answers the phone?
Rich Rosenthal.
Rich Rosenthal answers the phone. And
legend.
He says, what do you do? And I said, I work at the eatery. And he had known it was a good place because actually one of his employees had a wedding there, and Rich was at the wedding. And I didn't know, I knew that Rich was white hot at the moment because he had Max on Main, and Maximia was a big buzz at the day. Maximia was really a big buzz, and they were really busy, and I love Italian. So, and he answered the phone. He said, so what do you do there? I said, well, I run the kitchen. He said, are you the chef? I said, no, there's an executive chef, but I pretty much run everything day to day. I don't write the menu, but I run the floor. So what does run the floor mean? I run the day. I decide what's prepped. I run the line. I run the floor. And I was running when I was in the kitchen, and 6 months later, I was pretty much running the kitchen and the chef loved me. I was like his protege.
What was his name?
Stephen Romeo.
Where is he now?
He's in Vegas.
Vegas.
And he was a very,
Does he cook in Vegas, or is he retired?
He retired from the kitchen. He's been sober now for a long time.
Oh, good.
And he's a great guy and treated me like I was his son. And he's a dog trainer now and very successful doing that. But I worked alongside him, and we had some wild times. He was busy, and we worked really hard there.
So Rich says, okay, come in for an interview or cook for me.
He says, come down for an interview. I want you to meet the general manager at Max on Main. So I went down to meet the general manager at Max on Main. They hired me. And when they hired me, it was like, let's see how you do, and we'll make you sous chef.
Like a probationary period.
Yeah. And they, at the time when they hired me, they had already hired a new chef to be coming in, Brian Spilecki, who was amazing, and he came in from Wolfgang Puck.
Oh.
And so Brian was the chef at Max Downtown, and I was his guy. And
so you worked Max Downtown, formerly Max on Main.
Max on Main.
Which was the predecessor to Max Downtown. Same different location, right?
And that's I was working there before Steve Abrams, and now Steve
is
Abrams
the partner
came
now.
after I was there. And and so I worked with Rich for another 4.5 years or so, and when
that at the time, so folks know, that's like one of the top places to go. Like that's like everybody with a business account goes to.
I loved it. And I'll tell you a funny story that nobody knows. Well, Rich knows this because I told him just a few months ago. I still have dreams about it. I have dreams about my father. I would say 12 times a year. My uncle and Rich, I have dreams maybe 6 times a year. I still have dreams about Rich, and he'll come into my head. It's in a dream that I'm back at Max on Main, or he wants me to take over or whatever. Yeah. So he had that much of an impact on me because
he gave you a chance.
Gave me a chance, and it was the first time I ever worked for not for family, And Rich treated me well. And I worked really hard for him. And when I went to go tell him that I was leaving, he had known because I had to tell the other managing partner, Mark, and he says, come on upstairs so you can break my heart. That's what he said to me.
Do you guys still keep in touch?
Yeah, I called him not too long ago.
Oh, he's a good guy.
He's a great guy, and he was wonderful to me.
Right. He's got a good place in Florida that I want to go try, the Cooper or whatever.
Yeah, he was wonderful to me.
Wow, I didn't realize he had such a big influence on you. So you're working there, you're raising your family, and then so now if I'm doing my math right, it's almost time to start Brico.
Yeah, so when Max Amore opened, I was the chef. I was co-chef with a guy, John Slow.
Max Amore in Avon?
No, Max Amore was now the one in Glastonbury.
Oh, the one in Glastonbury. I'm sorry, Maximia is the one.
So I was the opening chef there.
Wow.
And I wanted the chef job.
That's the place that's since closed because the rent didn't make sense.
Yeah, I wanted the chef job, so I was the opening chef there.
That was a good restaurant.
Yeah, we got a 4-star review when we opened. We had a great crew. We did a great job, and I was there for only like 8 months because that's when I told you the thing with the bagel shop popped up.
I see.
My brothers were like.
So you were helping your brothers out, and then the pizza. You said El Forno was a pizza place where Brico's is.
Yeah.
When do you get Grants? Because that was another.
So Grants was
that after Brico?
Yeah, after Brico. Grants was a good. I don't know if it was 7 or 10 years after Brico, but I know Grants opened right before 9/11. So that was 2001.
Right. So you had that for almost 20 years, Grants.
17.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And that was a long run too.
And it's right around the corner for folks that don't know from Brico.
Yeah.
So Brico, when you open it up, you go and you say, okay, the center wasn't the center that we know today.
So I'll tell you.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
When we went to meet the landlords, the Sinatra, it was a Tuesday night. Tuesday, or, I don't know what time it was, 6, 7 o'clock, something like that.
So Sinatra's the people that run all the real estate here.
Tuesday was my day off. And we went to go meet them, to walk through the space. Center was dead back then at night, like dead. Like first thing I said was, we're not going to have any trouble parking here. There's like parking up and down the street. Back then the only restaurant was Idlewize. And then there was a place called the Back Porch Bistro, which used to be was where Barcelona is, and then there was Val's, which was like a grab and go.
That's it.
No Starbucks, no there was arugula.
All right, they're close to your age, but
they're a few years behind me. Right. Yeah.
So it's dead. So you go in there. Obviously, the rent's not what it is now.
No.
Right.
And we give it a quick makeover, like quick.
Did it have a hood? I mean, was there a hood in there?
There was a hood there. So there was a hood, the 2 pizza ovens, and I looked around at the space. I said, I need a couple more pieces of equipment back here in the back kitchen, and I said, I can do this.
How did you finance it?
We did it. So
self-financing.
True story. I think we spent like 300 and something thousand to do it.
And this is what year? 93?
Yeah. And my brothers are in the bagel shop. And doing quite well. And since then, they had opened up the bar called the Brickyard in Hartford with a couple of partners.
Oh, gosh, that was legendary.
Brickyard was legendary. So honestly, my brother Mike and Tony are doing great at this time. And I'm making I don't know what I was making, $500 a week or something, working for Rich, whatever. I wasn't making that much, but I had saved. I was a saver. I'd saved growing up, so I put everything that I had in savings. My mom lent me, I think, $50,000.
Wow.
And my brothers put up the rest of the money. And we were equal partners. We paid back my mom, and we were equal partners. And I had not a big salary, but a small salary to run it. And I ran it, and they ran the other 2 businesses, and we had lines out the door from day one.
So you called it Brico Day One?
Yeah.
What does Brico mean?
To be honest with you, we didn't know what we were going to call it, and the designer came up with it.
Oh, just call it Brico.
He said, how about Brico? And he says, it means simmering in the pot. And which it really doesn't. It means simmering in the pot. And we're like, oh, it's catchy. Let's go with it. And he drew the first logo with like 3 smokes coming out of the pot and 1 smoke going to the right. That was for the pilot, and that was the first logo. And come to find out, Brico means like the way grapes grow on a hillside. Like you'll see Italian wines, they're listed as Brico. But so that was it.
So you pick Brico, and you say, who makes the first menu?
Oh, I do.
Right.
My brothers are. So when I open Brico, my brothers are barely involved. Tony's doing the bookkeeping, and Mike's busy with running a busy nightclub and the bagel shop, and coming in and checking in once in a while. But I did everything: wine lists, drink lists, staffing, everything.
But when I think about this, you have the 3 brothers, and they all, like, every one of you is in food service of some kind. Or hospitality, right? And it's like a chip off the old block.
Yeah.
Right, you guys are, whether you're slinging dogs to machinists, or you're, making, wonderful, rigatoni bolognese, my wife's favorite dish, by the way. For the West Hartford folks, like you're making people happy, and nourishing them.
Well, that was most important to me. So not that it's not important to my brothers, but I have a different beat on hospitality.
Tell me about that.
That means everything to me, right? People mean everything to me. That's always the way I was, right? It's the way I was.
But when did you realize that people were everything to you?
Oh, I was young. I knew it. Like when I was young, like I would help my mother more in the house. I would help my mom in the kitchen. I was just like, I don't know, maybe it's the middle child thing, but I always knew that, like, I always worked as hard as I could at everything. Because I had to,
Right.
I wanted to be great at sports, but I was really little, so I wasn't great at sports.
Right.
Because my father, You know, all my brothers were good at sports, but I was the littlest one. You know,
I know the feeling. I'm
you know,
short kings unite, right?
yeah. I actually had a hormone deficiency when I was young, so I wasn't going through puberty, and
Uh,
so I did a period where I was on hormone
you know,
shots.
like the Messi was like that, the soccer
Yeah,
player.
yeah, and I was in the children's hospital for a while, and like, you know, I wanted so bad to be good at something, right? I wanted to make my father proud, right?
Right.
And the kitchen gave that
The
to me.
kitchen gave that to you. So
Gave it to
hospitality
me.
is in your blood.
Yeah.
So you write the menu. There's no internet at the time. It's old fashioned
No.
reservations, no takeout. I mean,
No.
and you write the first menu. And is it heavily at the time, Northern Italian, Central Italian, Southern Italian?
A little bit all over, but Italian. A little bit more modern and eclectic Italian because I was trying to be cool back then.
Were you trying to do, because I would say that your Rico is one of my favorite places, and it's not like a red sauce place. You wouldn't call it a red sauce place because the red sauce places are more traditional Italian American.
Yeah.
Yours to me seems like you have a foot in Italy and a foot
here
in the East Coast.
Yeah.
Right? Is that a good way to describe it?
And so the original concept that I stayed true was seasonal Italian American. That was literally on the menu, seasonal Italian. And I printed the menu and I tried to change the menu a lot with the seasons. Like Carcar oranges in, we're using Carcar oranges. You know, with summer vegetables in, we're using that. Corn's in, we're using that. And I still do that to the
But you were sort of the original farm to table kind of, because nobody, I mean, the farm to table label is like Anthony Bourdain said, it's all horseshit, because where else do you get your food? It's a farm.
Yeah.
But that you were actually using seasonal ingredients and changing the menu?
So I'm not saying I was the first. I wasn't the first, because I think from what my knowledge was like Cavies, Steve Cavanero, and Dino for peppercorns.
Oh, Dino is a legend.
A legend. So those two guys to me were like the first guys that were like chef owners, you know.
Would you agree, just as an aside, that Peppercorns is one of the best restaurants in the area?
Yes.
I think the food is delicious there.
Yes. Yeah. So those were two guys that I looked up to, and those guys were guys that were chefs and that owned their restaurants. You know, back then there was all these other restaurants. People didn't know who the chef was. You know, Mill on the River was popular, but people didn't know who the chef was. They do now. You know, like Elmar's son Steven's amazing, but you know, back then the chef wasn't focal. This is like when Emeril Lagasse's still just coming out. Like Bobby Flay, I don't think is even.
He didn't have the concept of a chef celebrity.
Yeah, and that stuff wasn't out. So I think people really took to Brico and the open kitchen and the fact that I was there. And and
you're still there.
And I'm still there.
I mean, you're still working the line.
I have my apron on right now. I'm in the podcast.
No, but I'm saying, you work the line like a rented mule. I mean, you're there. Like, they work you hard. Well, because you love it, because you see it, it comes out.
Because I love it.
My son is obsessed with your Instagram because you're there and you have such good Instagram. It's 30 seconds. This is what we make. And then you always do this thing. Tell them what it is. What do you?
Oh my God, this here.
What is this?
So
it's like chef's kiss?
No, it's not. It's
what does that mean?
So my grandfather on my mother's side, so growing up, all my descendants are Italian. On my father's side, my grandfather is William Grant, but half of his family was born in Italy, and they have the name Grande. Oh. So my uncle Rocky was my grandfather's older brother. His name is Rocco Grande.
Rocco Grande.
Yeah, and then my grandmother on my father's side, Gloria Vendrilla. My mother was DeLillo and Ianni.
Okay.
But the Iannis cooked. My grandma Grant couldn't cook. She couldn't cook. So all the cooking was on the Ianni side and the DeLillo side. And my great aunt Josie lived with my grandmother and grandmother on the Ianni side. So it was like having two Italian grandmothers.
Oh, gosh.
And Aunt Josie used to do all the cooking. And my grandfather, Grandpa Ianni, was like king, right? He's a Mason and first generation Italian, and he loved his food. He was the only one allowed. You know, in The Godfather, when Sonny rips the bread, he dips it in the sauce. My grandfather was the only one allowed to do that. Aunt Josie would hit you with the wooden spoon if you tried that.
Yeah.
And he would also always go like this. He'd make that little thing.
Oh, so you took it from him?
I took it from him.
Oh, where was that? I'm like, what is he doing? But it's great because it's like a tribute to him.
And the funny story is, I never thought about doing it or taking it from him. And one day, I was my girlfriend on a trip. We were in Portugal, and we were at this great restaurant. We're eating, and I went like this. She's like, "Babe, what is that?" I said, "Oh, what do you mean? You never saw me do that?" She said, "No, I don't think so." I said, "Well, my grandfather used to do it all the time." So then I started doing it on the videos, and the ladies went, "Oh my God, I love that!" So
that's where it came from. Yeah. Wow. So so at that point, so you're there. People see you, and it seems like you're able to, at least when I see you in there, sometimes people walk by, Billy, how are you?
Yeah.
But you're almost able to do that front of the house thing, but be protected by the pass.
Yeah.
Right. In other words, you're able to be like, hey, but you don't want to be out there. That's not what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the chef. Are you the main chef there?
Yeah. I mean, I have a great crew, and a lot of the crew has been with me over 15 years. I'm even more. I mean, Oscar's been with me almost 18 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I have like 5 guys that have been with me almost 20 years. Yeah.
And then you have a location in Glastonbury as well.
Yeah.
And who runs that?
So I have general manager over there, and I have 3 chefs over there, 3 or 4 chefs over there that have been with me a long time from West Hartford. So, and like now during the construction, I'm there every day in Glastonbury right now.
Oh, you're working with them?
Yeah, and I'm still trying to go there once a week and stuff.
Why are these folks so loyal to you? Because there's huge turnover in this industry.
I mean, we treat them right, and I think they enjoy that I care so much.
Well, I think too. I mean, what role does the fact that you're there in the trenches play? Because you're not you're not calling in from the Bahamas.
No.
Like, hey, thanks, guys. I'll see you in a month.
No.
I mean, they think that's helpful. I mean,
I do for me. Now, does that make me the best businessman? And could I had 6 or 7 Bricos scattered around the state?
Sure.
Maybe. The concept's good, the food's good, the recipes are good. I don't think it would be the same if I did that. West Hartford is very how would I say it? I immerse myself in it. So still to this day. So by immersing myself in it is good for that store. And it's good for everyone around, but it doesn't allow me the ability to have 7 stores.
Right? You can't scale.
I can't. It's just not. It was just not something that I really wanted to do.
Right. How many seats do you guys have in West Hartford?
West Hartford's like around 100, a little over 100.
And how many covers can you do in a night?
We get on a busy Saturday night. We're up around 350. Yeah.
Wow. So you get out of there 1, 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't get out that late anymore. I go when the rush is over. I'm done 9 o'clock,
okay,
9:30.
And then they just bring it across the finish line.
Yeah. But and back in the day when there wasn't so many restaurants in the center, we would be cooking much later. Like we were seating people much later because there's so many more seats. There's so many more options in West Hartford Center, right? So all the restaurants is a good thing because it brings people in, but it's also, there's a lot of seats to fill in West Hartford Center on a Saturday night,
Right. What makes a good chef in your view?
Gosh, I mean, there's so many characteristics: patience, people skills, leadership, solid foundation on cooking techniques.
But there's all this talk, I know other chefs, you and I have a lot of mutual friends, and they always say that like chefs are weirdos, right? And chefs tell me that. And but not in a bad way. Like I don't mean weirdo in a pejorative way, but like they're different. They have to have a different like mindset because you're getting into the weeds. It's high stress. You're trying to please so many people's palates. So you have to have you have to be wired in a weird
and you
way.
have to be durable for that, right? You have to be durable because it's a day in and day out thing, and it doesn't go away. You're only as good as your last service. So if you just my opinion, a lot of the even celebrity chefs that open many, many, many restaurants, unless you have really amazing people that you're putting into it, you can see things kind of dilute themselves, right? Like I won't mention any names, but sometimes, you'll see a big name chef at a casino and it's supposed to be great and he's never there.
Well, they just use his name.
And after a couple of years when he's never there, maybe he's there in the beginning for the first month and he puts his people there and they, the first couple chefs there are from him. And next thing you know, it's down the road and it's a fraction of what it should be.
Right. And they're just getting a piece of the action and private equity is running.
Or they're on a contract, you know, so yeah, but that's something, like I said, I'm there pretty much every day, so.
And you guys are open 7 days?
Yeah.
7 days. And you open for lunch too?
Yep.
Wow. And you guys do takeout, but you don't use the delivery services?
No, because it's, first of all,
tell me about that, because that's a source of frustration for us.
I say this humbly, I'm so lucky that we're busy.
You don't need it.
I don't want to be the one to say I don't need to take out.
But you don't.
I love the takeout. The takeout business is great, but I don't need another DoorDash and all that because then they're going to take screwed up. It's not even the piece they take, but then things get screwed up. I'd rather just control it the way we're controlling it.
So when I order from you takeout, I just have to pull up and I get it, and it's fine. But there is I talk to a lot of restaurateurs about this. The percentage does eat away at you because sometimes it could eat your profit up.
Yeah, especially now because things are harder. Like labor is up, Labor is expensive. Products, everybody knows, go to the grocery store, products are up, so it's harder. So prices are up. So it's harder. It's as busy as we are, and it's fantastic, and I'm lucky. We still have to battle and watch the budget. You have to watch the food costs, your labor costs. You have to.
You have to.
And your liquor costs.
And I notice a lot of times when you're putting out the different foods there that you do get a lot of you have relationships with local places.
Yeah.
So you'll say this is from
here,
Jimmy's Farm, or
right.
I mean, how do they call? Do people just text you and say, "Hey, Bill, I got these great tomatoes. You gotta have them."
Yeah, well, I have the relationship, so I know when they're coming. Like, so Brown's Farms will do strawberries and asparagus, and then Goot Farm and some other farms in Glastonbury.
You've been buying it for years.
Yeah, and then my produce guy, he's got the local farm, so he's got me, gets me corn from Wethersfield and spinach from Wethersfield, corn from Windsor or something like that.
Is it always or generally, or how would you categorize it? The local stuff better products?
Not always,
right?
Not always, but getting the stuff that's never been in the refrigerator is always a plus,
right?
Tomatoes, eggplants, and things like that, and corn that's never been in the refrigerator.
That's the better way to go.
That's the better way to go.
How about meat? Meat, it's harder to get locally, right?
Yeah, local meat is also more expensive. And local meat, keep doing it. Like, we love that, but it doesn't always mean that the local meat's better. No.
Right. And who's preparing all of your sauces and stocks and all of that stuff?
A lot of that's still on me. I still, I got my guys.
You don't put sugar in your sauce though, right?
Just a little.
A little?
Just a little.
Interesting.
Not a lot.
Who taught you that?
My Aunt Josie puts a little pinch.
Oh, this is Aunt Josie's meatballs, the famous
Aunt
meatballs.
Josie's meatballs, Aunt Josie's sauce.
A pinch of sugar.
Yeah, a little bit, not much.
Okay.
Not much.
And
but I never change brands. So I get a lot of my goods come from D&D Market.
Oh, Danny.
And
Danny's been a friend of mine a long time.
People come in all the time and they want to, they want me to change pasta, change olive oil. No, I'm not changing.
Do you know Danny's dad before he passed?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Danny's dad and my dad were friends.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, Danny, I was Danny's lawyer for a long time. And then his son worked for me. He became a lawyer. And of course, then he didn't need me anymore.
Yeah.
But I loved the D'Aprils. They're great
people.
And he's another guy, too. Another guy who he's there all the time. Yes. He shakes your hands. And he's got a great place.
Nobody works harder than him.
Nobody works harder. But he has those, I'm sure you know, but he has the veal cutlets.
Yeah.
Do you know Raphael, the guy who works there?
Is that the older guy?
He's from Italian, right off the boat.
Yeah, the sliced the veal guy. He's been with him.
He comes to me one time. He says, "Rich, I need to talk to you." I said, "Yeah, what's up?" This is my bad Italian accent. He goes, "I talked to Danny. I want to bring a steer in the back, and I slaughter it like I do in Italy. And I show him how to slaughter it, and then we sell it fresh. It'll make $1 million." And I'm like, "You can't slaughter." He literally had a plan to bring this thing in and slaughter. I told Danny's eyes popped out of his head. He says, "You can't do that here." Like he thought it was like in Italy, you get fresh meat. You know? He's like, "No, you got to go to a processing facility." He literally says, "I bring machete."
You can't do that here. I know, it's wild.
Well, yeah, but those thinly sliced veal cutlets.
I can't beat them.
You can't. I don't know how he does it.
Yeah,
he's the veal guy. He cuts them like this.
He had like one guy doing it for 100 years. Yeah.
So you're loyal. So I know, like, for instance, who's your favorite New Haven pizza?
I think I like Pepe's.
You like Pepe's?
Pepe's Bar, Sally's. Yeah,
I'm a Sally's guy. I grew up on Sally's. I had a reservation there. But they are like those places. They use the same sauce, the same cheese that they've had for 100 years.
They're not changing. Yeah.
And what is the theory on it? It works. Don't screw with it.
Yeah, if it works, don't change it.
So that you get the same products from there. So, how many days a week are you working now?
Well, I work every day.
Wow.
I try not to work Sundays every Sunday, but like I'm usually there every day. So I'm usually always 6 days a week. But I do, I've been in a relationship now for like 5 years, and
you guys travel a lot.
She's a travel blogger, so I do get away with travel.
Oh, is that what she does? I didn't realize.
Yeah,
that.
She's a travel influencer and content creator.
You guys go to some nice spots.
Yeah, so when I can do that, I do that. And like I said, my team they're great without me. They're not great without me forever, but I can go away for a week, or I can go away for 3 days. And a lot of the trips are short, and they're fine. I set them up, but I come back, I get right to it.
Right, and and you obviously have general managers and hostess. Mm-hmm. What do you think in terms of what qualities make a good host or a hostess? Or
hospitality, people skills. You work with people too, right? There's a certain sense, whether it's one of your girls out front or my hostess. It's hard to train people to have the right couth and people skills. I mean, I've had a lot of employees over the years and good managers that are great at some stuff and managers that aren't so good with the guest. It's hard to find people who have the whole package, but we're in the business of people. These are guests coming into our home, and that's how you got to treat them, you know?
Is the guest always right? The customer always right?
Yeah, I mean, they're always right in a sense that they came here and it's our job to make them happy. They might not always be right about their one thing, but you don't bark back at them. If somebody, if they want their steak, sometimes they'll order steak and they'll cut it and send it back and it's cooked perfectly. And you don't send it back to them and go,
Screw
it's
you.
cooked perfectly. You want it cooked a little bit more. They just don't know sometimes what they're ordering. But we don't put people on the defense.
Right. You just make it right.
You make it right.
Have you dealt with any these? A lot of chefs get crazy about this. These reviews online. I do too. People,
Yeah.
you'll have somebody who's just a complete asshole, and they
Yeah.
just send you better, and it's completely unfounded, or they don't give you a
Yeah.
chance. What do you just ignore it? Or?
I just, we respond when we can and apologize and try to be nice. But, you can't just send a gift card to everybody that complains.
Right,
Right?
because then
It's
they'll just
just opening up Pandora's box. But the thing is, like, I get a customer side of it. Like, look, restaurants aren't cheap. Everybody has the right to go and review and their freedom to go out there and say they didn't love it. But sometimes it's just, it's nitpicking, right? And it's hurtful, right? It's hurtful to nitpick on a restaurant that, really doesn't deserve it, And so sometimes I just think, like, don't you have anything better than your time? Like, give good reviews to good restaurants and give them a nice review. If it's really that bad, do you really,
because people
call them? I would rather you call me up and tell me, but don't post it everywhere. Call me up and tell me. That's okay. Give me a chance to fix it, invite you back. But, and then and especially for restaurants that are just getting started out. Like, it's hard.
You can have a bad day.
From soup to nuts, it's hard. We're dealing with people. We're dealing with people on both sides of the spectrum. Employees, customers, and our products perishable. And we're dealing with a set of technique. It's not like you're taking something off the shelf and just selling it to them.
You're not putting it in a microwave.
No.
Right?
So, sometimes it's frustrating, but knock on wood, we don't get a whole lot of bad complaints. Thank God.
And your restaurant now is turning 28.
28.
Wow. And how old's Glastonbury?
I think Glastonbury is like 15.
What's the busier restaurant?
Well, Brico will probably finish up at the end of the year busier, I think.
And that's called Brico Trattoria.
But they're a little bit neck and neck.
Really?
They become almost neck and neck.
And how many seats in Glastonbury?
And that's the thing. Glastonbury's bigger. So Glastonbury has, I think, 140.
Wow. And you can still do 300-400 covers there?
Yeah, yeah. Glastonbury tends to finish up a little earlier than West Hartford,
Right.
a little sleepier.
Yeah.
But no, Glastonbury has been good too.
Wow. So
Yeah.
that's and right now you're closed for a couple of weeks. You're doing repairs
Renovations,
and
yeah.
things you just can't do day to day.
Yeah, well, we needed to do the floors over in the kitchen. So,
They're just worn out.
yeah, the floors, this is our third time. And we'll
Wow.
probably have to do them in another 15 years.
Wow.
Because the floor is on wood. It's not on cement. So the floor is going to move. So no matter what floor, we're putting epoxy again, laying it down. We're doing gutted the floors. But I hope they last us 10 years. That would be, so they needed to get done.
You
so
you're putting tile down, right?
No, epoxy.
Oh, you pour epoxy.
Yeah. And so, but technology's better and we're doing it a little bit. I think we have the right company doing it. So I think it's got a better chance of lasting longer. And then we needed to fix some of the floors in the front because, some of the hardwood floor was buckling. So we took that out and then we're doing a couple things to give it a little bit of a fresh look, like a facelift, miniature facelift.
Right. And you're going to open around Valentine's Day?
We're hoping.
Because that's a great source of revenue for you guys. So
Yeah. And if we miss it, it's going to be sad, but yeah.
You're on track for that.
Right now, we think it's going to be close.
Right. So just a couple more things. So in terms of, do you think this is still a good way to make a living for people? Do you think you would encourage people that have a passion for it?
I do, but I think you got to love it.
You gotta love it.
You got to love it. And you got to be in a good location and you have to give it all the attention it needs. And you have to love it and you have to be durable.
When you opened, how many hours were you working when you opened?
When I opened, you couldn't pull me out of there.
Wow.
When I opened, we opened January, I think it was 19th. And I didn't take a day off until June.
Wow.
Because I remember because my mother got remarried and that was the first day off I took.
Well, and so you're working, what, 80 hours a week? Maybe?
Yeah, I was literally at that time, I was working all day, and after night, we used to make our own ice cream. Not since I let Grants go, I didn't have the room anymore for the ice cream machine. So I would make ice creams after dinner. Like,
And Grant's, by all accounts, was a very successful restaurant,
yeah,
just too big.
Grants was great. It was just too big, and it was good for a long time. And it opened right before 9/11, and then 9/11 happened, and that really everything came to a halt. That was a scary time because nobody was going out.
People were just at home. And
People were just at home, and that was tough.
Grant's closed before COVID, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And that was another blessing, because if Grants closed with COVID, Grants wouldn't have survived, because the only thing that made Perico survive was the support from the community and the takeout.
The takeout, yeah. A lot of my chef friends did really well with the takeout.
Yeah.
Because the takeout allowed them to just do a few things and be able to do that. So what do you do on when you're not working? What are your favorite restaurants around here?
Well, I love Millwrights.
Okay.
And I love Materia out in
that's so
Morris.
good.
I love the Winvian.
Oh, Winvian. Those you're got all the top spots.
I love the Oyster Club in Mystic.
I love Oyster Club.
Yeah.
How about I went to a new place recently in Torrington called Geppetto.
No, I haven't heard it.
Oh,
it's good. Yeah,
it's Italian. So I have a client who's right off the boat from Italy. He's Italian. He says none of that Jersey shit. He's from Rome, or Lombardo or somebody. And he said to me, he says that place is like there. He also says the place in Milford, Strega.
No, I haven't.
He says that is an Italian chef from Italy, and he says those two places are good. But Geppetto is fantastic, and you go in and it's like you're in Tuscany or something.
I'll have to try
That's really good. It's not Torrington. It's not bad.
Yeah.
But Matera is solid food.
Solid. He's really good. David's great.
How about what's the other one? Arethusa?
Yeah, Arethusa is good. And I like La Tavola. Nick Mancini and Waterbury is good too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Nick and I work together. His food's good too.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Is that the place that it's I know. Like you drive there. I remember going there.
It almost feels like you're in a neighborhood, right?
It feels like you're in like Atlantic City or something.
You're in like a little neighborhood. Have
you ever been? One other thing. Have you ever been to a restaurant in Atlantic City called Chef Vola?
No.
There's a restaurant there, and you have to call. And if you're the president of the United States, they won't take you unless you know somebody on the list.
Oh,
and I knew somebody on the list, and you go in there, and it's literally you're walking on the street. You're like, this is like my friend Billy's grandmother's house, and you walk in and you go into their basement, and it's grandfathered. It's a complete fire trap.
Yeah.
The bathroom, you have to walk through the kitchen, and they have like, it's a red sauce place, but like in someone's basement. It's fantastic. It's won all kinds of awards, and they serve for dessert. Like there's 10 types of homemade ricotta pies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If you're ever in Atlantic City, Atlantic City is kind of a dump, but it's good. How about New Haven? What do you like in New Haven?
I like the pizza places in New Haven.
Okay.
If I go to New Haven,
you're going for pizza. Yeah. But yeah, all right. So that's I'm thinking of if there's anything else what do you like? Yeah, I go out to, what I like to just for regular stuff, Ryan's Deli. You ever go to Ryan's Deli?
I haven't in years.
Oh, okay. That's good.
And of course I love Black Bamboo, right?
So we love Black Bamboo. We order it once a week. We're Black Bamboo at this office. And then he just does such a good job. Yeah. He's a good guy. He does a good job. How about in the center? So Chris has been a friend of mine and a client at times, a long time. I love arugula.
Yeah, she's good too. I haven't eaten in a while, but Chris,
you should go
in. The
food there is just, and it's like a soap opera in there. It's like with all her, like her and Mike are at war.
I know it's a trip.
It's a trip, but her food is solid.
It's not that I shouldn't say this because I'm obviously pro center, right? I'm pro the West Hartford Center, but I feel like I don't eat as much in the center because, first of all, I work a lot, right? So when I eat, it's usually when I travel, we eat, right? And a lot of times it's like, I just want to get home, right? Like I just want to get home, So I don't, because I work a lot. I like to spend time at home, and I love.
You love to cook at home too.
I love to cook at home too. Yeah. So it's not like I'm not rushing home to jump in the shower to come back to eat at one of the restaurants in the center, and they're all good. They're all good, right?
But you'd cook for 6-7 hours at Brico, then you'd come home and cook your woman a meal.
Yeah.
Wow.
Once in a while. Yeah.
But
but I do something quick at home. Like the other day, I just did I did this slow reverse sear steak, but that was so easy.
Yeah, but that's
I got two big steaks.
You know who you remind me of, and I'm still very close with. Do you remember Ryan and Kellyanne?
Yeah, I love them.
So they have now. I'll text it to you. They have 2 restaurants that are the number 2 the 2 of the top restaurants in Charleston.
Yeah,
they literally went there with nothing.
Yeah,
started over.
Yeah,
and they have a tasting menu restaurant, $250 a head.
Yeah,
and there's already Michelin star talk about it. It's incredible. And then they have this other place called Southbound, and they would say the same thing. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, come over. We're just going to put something together." And you guys are like professional hospitality people. And they'd be like, "Oh, we're going to have tacos." Like my house, here's what tacos are. My wife works so hard. She's working all day, filming with the kids. She makes some stuff. She adds a packet of seasoning. We put it together, and it's delicious.
Yeah.
But they're like, reverse searing steak. There's a chimichurri spread. There's chopped up salsa from the local farm. So you guys say that, but when you whip something up, a reverse sear steak is not. Yeah, it's not easy, brother.
It's fun. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. All right. Just to wind down, is there any way to bypass hard work, or is it to be successful, or there's no shortcut, right?
I don't think in the kitchen. When it involves the kitchen, I don't. I mean, yeah, you can come up with a system of making the best donuts on a conveyor belt and be wildly successful and spread them across the country. But the kitchen that I know, I don't know how to do it without hard work. Because we make everything. I mean, we're not making the ice cream anymore because I don't have the space for the machine. But we're hands on. You need some backbones in there, and I'm lucky to have a few people that have been with me for a really long time.
So 2 final questions. The role of relationships, I'll call my guy. How critical is that to your success?
To everything. Relationships with not only customers, my partners, my employees, my relationship with my family. Relationships are everything. You're only as good as the people you have with you. And if you don't have solid relationships with those people, I don't want to be dramatic, say they're not going to go to war with you, but you need to be on the same page with the people that are working with you. We don't treat them like numbers or you're not just filling a slot. You're not just a name in a slot for me. You're important to me, and everyone is. And, losing good people is hard to replace.
So if I asked you, Billy, I know you have a lot of guys or gals. We say guy as a gender neutral term. If you had to say, hey, I'll call my guy, who would you say that person is?
Right now, it's Oscar.
Oscar.
Yeah.
And he's the chef there.
He's my right hand now.
Right hand.
Oscar and Christian. But Oscar is helped me with the makeover stuff. And
what's Oscar's last name?
Soriano.
Oscar. Shout out to Oscar.
Shout out to Oscar and Christian. Yeah.
I'll have to meet him. Well, Billy, I thank you. I know you're incredibly busy.
Appreciate
I'm just another asshole with a podcast, but I really wanted to learn about you. I thought you had a lot to give, and I thank you for being so personal, sharing this stuff with the audience, and people can see what, your restaurant has so much of you in it and your love of what's good. And it's, the New York Times, I think, called it a perfect restaurant. I know you don't want to mention that, but it's a perfect fucking rrestaurant. It's so good. Your food, it never disappoints. Yeah. And I wouldn't blow smoke. I would tell you if I thought, hey, it was here. It's just, just so good. And it's a testament, and your dad would be proud of you. So
thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.